can't believe that my Hollywood sweetheart has taken time out to come and see me. I remember when we met back in, what was it, 2007, when we put you on our 5th anniversary Anoki magazine cover. You were and still are the biggest sweetheart, the most humblest actress, superstar, personality that I think I've ever known and interviewed in the 12 years that I've been doing this. You've done so much in, you know, the last like 7-8 years, and I want to talk about that journey, but I did want to share with you first that one thing that I love about you is the fact that you're so humble and you laugh all the time.
You want to laugh with you?
Yeah.
I mean, once we get started, that's it.
It's
There's
over.
no stopping.
On a serious note, you really are a sweetheart, babe. I mean, you have such tremendous talent, and it's multifaceted because you sing, you write songs, you are, you know, an actress in your own right on three different continents. But I want to start at the beginning, where you actually decided that you wanted to be like Olivia Newton-John. You watched Xanadu, and I remember you saying that that's kind of where the magic for, you know, the performing arts actually came about for you. Yeah. Talk to me about that part of your life.
That's a moment that I always literally have tucked under my sleeve, and I pull it out every time, you know, throughout this journey that we're all on. You know, you have your ups and downs and your twists and turns. You go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rejections and then some.
Yes.
But I always remember that moment because that's what got me into it. And literally when I think about it, it just takes me to that moment with my older sister. And I was just sitting, and I could see it so clearly as if it was just yesterday. And I've got like a back shot of us. You see this taller girl and this tiny little girl sitting like this, watching the TV on the red carpet we were sitting on, and Xanadu playing. And I just remember I was just mesmerized. That was me watching Olivia Newton-John singing and all that. I was just like in a trance. And it completely, literally, I could see it sort of taking over my whole body, my being. And I was bitten so hard from that moment. And that feeling is still so palpable that I can even feel it to this day. And that is what has given me the drive to persist and to keep seeing through this childhood dream.
I remember there was this one time when, you know, you were in, you know, school, and you know, you were kind of deciding between whether you're going to go into media business. Remember that? And whether you're going to go into acting, and that was there was a real fork in the road for you at that time. Once you made your decision on which lane you were going to take, you've never looked back.
Yeah.
Obviously, right? Because here we are, all these years later, and just the expansive portfolio that you've accumulated over the years. But before I get there, I want to ask you, when you were at that fork, how did you make the decision?
I don't think I could ever be a journalist because I have an issue with the ethics. You know,
Right.
I know it has to be about the story. It has to. But I just, in some certain sensitive issues, I don't think I could. I'd be too like, oh, I can't. You know, I can't disturb that family who just lost their son who was murdered. You know, it's just things like that. There's some ethical issues that I had.
Yes.
But that aside, when I met Lyman and we sat down, because at the end of first year, I was already being offered entry-level reporting jobs at Channel 11. And I mean, it was incredible that I was already getting offers. And he looked at me, he said, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I really want to sing and act and dance. And he said, well, what are you doing here then?
Right.
And I said, well, I want to get behind the scenes. He said, no, 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 no. He really simplified everything for me. Because I think as humans, it's only natural that we kind of overcomplicate things. And we always say, oh, no, 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 but what about this? And maybe I should be doing it. And sometimes you need someone else
To dumb it down for you.
Yeah, to keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
And to just put things into perspective. And he just said to me, he said, Karen, he said, it's really simple. You're so young. You can't do high kicks when you're 40 or 50. Although, when I get there,
I think you will somehow.
when it comes to, and he said, you can always go back to this if you want.
Right.
But here you have, I was presented with a scholarship to go study at Drama College in England.
Yes, which you went to.
Which I went. And he said, you just got to take that leap of faith and trust yourself that you're going to land on your own 2 feet. And no, you're not going to have the answers of what lies ahead. But you're going to embrace, no, you're just going to embrace the unknown.
Yeah.
And I said, you make it sound, I remember saying this, you make it seem so easy. He said, but it is. I went to England and I literally had to put a blindfold over my subconscious because I was scared.
Right.
And leaving home, leaving my friends, leaving Toronto and everything that I knew that was so comfortable. And I was still a kid.
Right.
And I always say, like, I'm so grateful that I had my childhood and my upbringing in Toronto, but I always say I developed and became an adult in England. Boy, oh boy, did I do a lot of growing up away from home, so far away from home in England.
You did. And
yeah.
I think the great thing is, and why I think that you stuck it out in England, even though you went through a lot of lows as well as highs, is the fact that you are someone that kind of sticks to things. I think it comes a lot from your upbringing. I know that your mum and dad are really strong supporters, you know, of you and your career and the decisions you've made. And I know there's been moments that, you know, you kind of have questioned, many moments of, you know, why am I doing this? And that's kind of when you need that voice behind you saying, you know, these are the reasons why you're doing it. Right?
Yeah.
And it's wonderful when that voice is coming from your parents, especially from our community, which is really rare, sweetheart. You know that, right? Yeah. You have had two parallel journeys in terms of professional careers while you were in England. One, of course, was your music career, and the other was your acting. So let's hit on some of the high points there. Let's talk about those moments in your career, both musical and acting-wise, that for you were real pivotal milestones. So you walk me through that journey.
My first chapter was going to drama college there.
Yes.
And it was so funny because when I was in drama college, I had been offered to join the cast of Miss Saigon in the West End. And I always thought, you know, because I would sing and I'd like to act, that I wanted to do musical theatre. And that's something that I wanted to see what that was like. And of course, I couldn't do it because my visa papers hadn't come in on time, which was Murphy's Law. But that's my first lesson where I learned that everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And you really have to.
Mia.
I did Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
And that was my first job out of drama college. And having studied straight theatre, and it was all about Shakespeare and Ibsen and Alexander technique and Stanislavski, and all my more thespian fellow actors in my class, they would be like, yo, what? You're doing a musical with ABBA songs? They're like, are you mad?
Yeah.
They're like, you studied drama. You should be doing that, not musicals. And I said, well, look, it beats waiting tables.
Right.
Right?
And you got a job.
I got a job. That was my first job out of drama college. I think 3 weeks from graduating, I got that role.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say no to that. I thought I get to work with Benny and Bjorn, being an original cast.
Yeah.
The script seemed pretty funny. And I happen to like ABBA, thank you very much.
Me too.
I'm gonna do it. It's a no-brainer. So we still joke to this day because they said to me, they said, oh, that's going to be the biggest flop.
Yeah.
And that was far from the truth, right?
Absolutely.
So it was just so wonderful to be part of that because it was an experience that really taught me about stamina, trying to make the 342nd show look like it's the first one.
Yes.
A newfound respect for theatre performers because 8 shows a week, it's a different life. It's tough.
It's grueling.
And you need a lot of stamina for that. And I'm so glad that I got that kind of experience and training right from the early on from my career.
You got work ethic from the get-go.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's probably why you also got a lot of the opportunities you did. Another thing I've noticed about you is that you don't marginalize yourself. I've noticed in your career, you've literally done everything. You've been everything from the sword fighting heroine to the singing princess in Galavant. I think that's a real magical thing about you as an actress is that they can kind of put you in anything and you'll figure your way out and you'll make it happen. Of course, a lot of that has come from your traditional training in London and of course in Boston as well. But I think it has a lot to do with the veracity of your personality. The fact that, you aren't really a judgmental per se personality in terms of putting yourself into this box or the other box, right? You kind of, oh, okay, I've got this opportunity. Sounds like fun. I'll figure it out when I get there.
Yeah.
And you do.
I think it's a bit of my Aries side to me too, where I just I'm the daredevil. Like I'm the type, there's different techniques and processes that each actor takes, and none of them wrong. For me, it is a little bit whack in the sense where I just literally love to throw myself in the deep end and completely trust that I'm going to tread water and come up to the surface and see what happens because that's where the excitement comes in, and I don't know if that comes a lot from my theatre training and doing live plays and musicals and stuff, performing live, because you're in that moment. And I live for the magic and spontaneity that happens in a moment.
Right.
Because that's when some of the most powerful and bittersweet acting moments can happen, when you're so connected with the other actors and you're relaying to each other, and you're just in this own world, nothing else around you, and you're just all engulfed into that one moment. And I live for those moments. So yes, I'm the type that would like throw myself into the deep end. I mean, when I tested for Galavant, the whole testing process in Hollywood, you know, in its pilot season, was all very new to me, because you don't really do that in England.
Right.
So when I tested for Galavant the second time, because I had to go in twice, I went in the first time, and it was more of a serious scene, you know, the scene where, in the pilot, where I'm telling Galavant that my parents are being held hostage, and I have to do something to save them. So it was very serious. And they wanted to see the funny side. And there was nothing funny about that scene. It was supposed to be serious. So I had to go back in and do something funny. And it was so, if anyone had told me that I was going to test on a whole new scene off a cold read that I'd never seen before, because Dan had to literally write up a whole scene just for me to show how funny I was, no pressure. And there was only 15 minutes for me to do, because the cameraman had to go to another testing session.
Right.
So,
how did that go?
Oh, it was, I trusted Dan, because his writing is genius.
Yes.
And I just took one look at the pages, and I thought, this is brilliant. He makes me sound amazing. He makes me funny. And this is that's when you're blessed with a good writer.
Right.
And so the casting director was like, you know, Susan Vash, God bless her, she was just like, no, we'll come back another day. Karen, you know, you don't have to do this now. And I said, you know what? Let's just do it. If you guys are okay for me to keep looking down at the paper, I want to do this.
Right.
But that's me wanting to jump into the deep end and just go for it, because you just really have to trust yourself and trust, you know, the moment that you're going to be in. So I feel also with my background that I've never been stereotype pigeoned into one hole.
Right.
I've always been able to play like a chameleon.
You're constantly moving from one job to another, and they're always different.
We're told in drama college, right, from a young age when we first started, that it's about your craft. It's about being the best that you can be. It's about challenging yourself and pushing yourself to whatever limit that you can go to see. And it's scary and exciting. That's what the journey is about.
You have done principal roles, you have done appearances on like tremendous ensemble cast kind of films as well, where there's been, you know, great personalities that you can learn from. I remember you telling me that sometimes you take like the bit role, other times you'll take like the main role, because there's lots of different reasons why you take these roles. Sometimes it is for the meat of the role. Other times it's because you get the opportunity to work with and learn from tremendous thespian actors, right? And this is something that you've shared with me.
You always hope for a good team of people around you. And I feel like I've had that my whole life, starting with my parents and then going with my teachers. Then, you know, with your agents and your managers, you know, and I listened. So I think that was half the battle, was I actually listened to them. And sometimes you've got to do these bit roles. But my manager was saying that it's about the quality of what you're doing.
Right.
It could be 2 scenes in a huge movie, but it could be with Michael Caine, you know, or it could be with Robert De Niro. But it's 2 great scenes with these legendary actors, where not only do you get to have a moment with them on screen, but you also get to have, you know, it's such an incredible opportunity to learn from the best.
Absolutely.
So that is worth its weight in gold. For example, in Couples Retreat, that's what happened. But I was able to be in Bora Bora for 2 weeks.
Yes.
I can think of worse things.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it felt like, you know, I was on the honeymoon without the guy. That was what was weird, because they gave us these gorgeous huts, and, you know, and all of us were in huts. My next door neighbor was Faison Love, and then 2 huts down was Jon Favreau. I mean, it was so funny. But just to have those experiences, because it's life experience that is what I know has made me a better actor.
Absolutely. And I think that's the reason why, you know, ABC's Galavant was just so tremendous. It had such an ensemble, eclectic, you know, pool of talent, both in front of the scenes and behind the scenes. When you got the notification that, you know, you've got the principal role of Princess Isabella, how did that feel? Like, was it like a surreal moment?
It's such a special show. And the minute that I read the pilot, when my agent sent it to me, I was like a little girl reading a fairy tale storybook and laughing and just getting so excited. My eyes were popping out of my head. I was so excited because I'd never read anything like this before. And you know, it's like when you meet the one person that you know that this person's for me.
Yes.
You just know. And this script had that Midas touch that I just knew that this is so special. When I read that Isabella was described as Jennifer Lawrence, that's when I thought, well, hang on a second, I look nothing like her. But they still wanted to see me. And I think with this experience, as opposed to the other jobs that I'd been through, I had been testing for other shows and I'd come so close. And you know, there would be times where they originally advertise the role as being they want someone exotic and different, and then they'd go more blonde and blue-eyed. So that happens too.
Yeah, and that's happened a lot.
Yeah,
throughout your process too. Yeah, but it's never gotten you down.
No, because I'm never going to be that.
Right.
You know, hey, I love Olivia Newton-John. She's the reason why I got into this, blonde and blue-eyed, right? I mean, I even married a blonde and blue-eyed.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
But that was exotic for me. But no, I think it's when you go through each experience you learn. At the end of the day, I told myself that as long as I give it my best shot, I might as well have fun with it.
Absolutely.
And I might as well enjoy it instead of being so nervous and everything. I'm missing out from actually enjoying
the experience.
The experience.
Yeah.
Because you could still give the performance of your life and still not get the part. So then I might as well have fun with it.
Right.
And so when I went up for Galavant, I just had that sort of attitude that I'm not expecting anything. I don't look like Jennifer Lawrence. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have fun with this. And I went straight and met with Dan, the next casting. And Dan took all this time to want to get to know me. He was fascinated with this.
Yes.
And said, explain this. And how did you get here? And I said things in that meeting that I have never said in a casting room ever in my life. Like I said to him, I said, well, Dan, to be honest, I said, I've just been really lucky that people who have cast me throughout my career were not afraid to think outside the box.
Mm-hmm. Good for you.
I never say that.
Good for you,
but I
babe.
felt so comfortable with Dan.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, they weren't afraid to think outside the box and say, you know what, this works. Yeah. This is different. And I'm going to take a punt on it.
I believe that you really stood out in Galavant because of the very fact that you didn't look like you fit in, so therefore you did, right?
Yeah, I mean, she's a Spanish princess.
That fork in the road when you made the decision to be an actress actually finally came full circle that yes, you did make the right decision.
And it's like, you know, it's Steve Jobs, what he was saying, when you look back, it's only when you look back that you can connect the dots, which makes sense to what led you up to this point. And that's exactly what happened in that moment.
On that note, thank you so much, my darling, for your time. I adore you, and I love everything that you do and everything about you. And even though you've been doing this for like a really, really long time, don't you kind of feel that you've only just kind of gotten there?
I know.
Right?
Well, I'm so lucky I'm playing a 23-year-old in Galavant.
I love it.
I love it. That's
but
the
you
Asian
still look
skin,
16.
right?
You still look 16.
But you know what's going to happen? We're going to be here 10 years from now, giggling again.
Yes.
About some other adventure.
Absolutely.
Right?
Thank you so much for your time, my darling. I adore you.
Mwah. Mwah. See, double kisses. She's got it.